The Dead Pair podcast is brought to you by the Elite Experience, Elite Shotguns, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Paul?
Welcome to the Dead Pair podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays.
Guy Fieri.
How are you, gentlemen? Thanks for having me.
Anthony Matarese Jr., how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well.
Welcome back, David Radulovich.
That's a net positive. Brad Kidd.
Corey Cruz, thank you for joining us this evening.
Now I feel awkward.
With your hosts, Jason Rambo
One more Red Bull for you.
and Sean Alley.
Woo, yeah!
Christmas.
Let's do it.
Often imitated but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair podcast. And now, it's showtime.
All right, Dead Pair listeners, you paid for the whole seat, but you are only going to need the front edge tonight because who we got coming on here, Jason?
Oh my God, somebody been hitting a Red Bull again.
Come on, man, bring it. You said
Ben
bring it.
Husthwaite.
Ben Husthwaite, yes. It's been 2 years since we've had Ben on the show. We've been talking to him forever. Finally got him on tonight. I'm excited. And I'm banging on the table, and Jules is going to yell at me.
Yeah, you talk about somebody that's going to get excited when she has to edit out your banging on the table.
All right, I'm backing down now. Put the Red Bull down.
Well, what's up, Mr. Large in Charge? You've been hitting that Red Bull a little hard, huh?
Yeah, well, I've been a little bit wired from work and everything else, but honestly, I am truly excited to get Ben back on. We've talked to him on and off for the last couple of years, and we've been trying to set something up, and now was the time.
You know, I think it's one of those things, and we'll discuss it with him, but I've been watching him on social media, and he is definitely a different person than he was 2 years ago when we had him on.
Oh, by far, man. Look at all the stuff that's happened. I mean, he's gotten married. He's got a kid. And he's been coaching all over the daggone world. Traveling everywhere.
Absolutely. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. Hey, in the short-term interim, we have, not sure, it's either Tracy Wright or John Woolley coming up next, but questions for the coaches. Get those questions sent in. We've got a few right now, but always welcome to send more. You can send them to us however you want to. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram. Go to our website, thedeadpair.com. Click on the contact button. Send us an email. We'd love to get your questions answered.
That's why we're here, guys. We're trying to get this out there. So if you got a question, we got all these great coaches available. So get them to us, and we'll get them answered.
Absolutely. And we cannot possibly do this without our beloved sponsors, Elite Shotguns, Fiocchi USA, Bear Pelt Atlas Traps, RE Ranger, Odo Pro Technologies, Rhino Chokes, Don Grant, Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports, and White Flyer, and of course, Score Chasing.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, real quick, we got a tourney talk to get to.
Cool.
It's Tourney Talk. Brought to you by Score Chaser.
All right, the Seminole Cup for 2024, registration to open on 5/18, so when you guys are hearing this, it's probably up and running. Shoot is February 28th through March 3rd. Again, that's 2024 at Broadfield Sea Island. Open for registration, so get on that. Also, the 2023 New Hampshire State Championship is at 20th Skeet and Clays, now open for registration. This shoot will be held June 10th through the 11th. Finally, we've got the Delaware State Championship at Owen Station Sporting Clays, June 24th through the 25th. Again, that one's open, so guys, jump on it if you need to get into these shoots.
Well, not finally. We have a real big one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, go for it, Jason. Hit it.
February 13th through the 18th, Jack Link's Cup is now open. Now, check this out. I got some purse details here. Obviously, we know it is a $300,000 purse. The HOA will be $25,000. The runner-up will be $15,000. And in the main event, first place will be $2,500, then $1,500, then $1,000, then $750, then $500, and that is for all classes, Master through E. The ladies for the main event will be an additional $6,000 HOA, and runner-up will be $4,000, and then it'll pay back $1,500, $1,000, $750, $500, $300. Now, all the other classes, and this includes all the other events. This includes FETASC, 5-stand, the red prelim, the blue prelim, the north prelim, and the super sporting. Those will pay $1,000 to first place, $750 for second, and $500 for third. And HOA for each one of those is $2,000, with the runner-up getting $1,500.
That's a little bit of coin, isn't it?
That's a little bit of coin. Some other things, too, we can announce. Joe Skull will be setting the majority of the targets, and Dave Kelly we'll be setting the rest of them.
Oh, nice.
One other thing we know for sure is that the red course will now be the sub-gauge course. So lots of big changes coming. They're supposed to get back to me with some more information as it comes available, but you better hurry up and sign up on this one.
I already am, and I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm excited.
And I'll tell you right now, man, I'm really digging my new Kolar.
Yeah?
I really am digging my new
liking the
Kolar.
thing, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really nice. And, when you look it over, and I've cleaned it a couple times, and just they do an awesome job putting that gun
The
together.
fit and finish on them
is
phenomenal.
It's above and beyond anything I've ever shot before. So I am just tickled pink. I'm still working on the gun fit and everything, but man, it's a nice gun.
Well, and don't let what Sean's saying, misconstrued anyone. Elite has shotguns starting from entry level.
Absolutely. You can go get an A400 and all the way up to a Kolar
But when you're ready for your lifetime shotgun,
yeah, man, they're really nice.
Can you really truly go wrong with a Kolar?
No, and like I said, man, every time I take it out and shoot it, I've shot 2 tournaments so far with it, and I'm getting more and more impressed with it.
Yeah.
So,
and that is a pretty gun.
It is. The color of the wood that they gave me, that they picked out for me. It's really unique. It's kind of like a mocha coffee color.
Yeah.
It's really different. Not a lot of red in it or anything, just kind of a tannish brown. Again, mocha color, I guess, is the best way.
Speaking of coffee.
Oh, yes. Jason, you got some news, man. You talked to the guys over at Dalton and Deuce.
Yeah, I'm working on a new blend of coffee. We're still going to have the existing blend that we have right now. Everybody loves it, including my wife, my mother. I mean, everybody we know that's tried it loves that coffee. What we have now is currently a medium to dark roast. And what I came up with was a 100% dark roast, but it's got I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like hints of caramel.
Is it like a dessert coffee, like something you'd have with a dessert? Or
No. You can drink this in the morning. Now, it's not like a heavy caramel taste. It's just it's a dark roast coffee that has like a little tiny hint of caramel,
a little sweet finish to it.
So
or something.
have you ever had a dark roast of coffee that was almost like bitter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with these caramel hints in it, there's no bitterness whatsoever.
So it's very smooth.
It's very smooth, but it's also a dark blend.
Well, I can't wait to try it. I'm excited.
Yeah. And it's called the HOA blend.
Yeah, and I think you were telling me earlier, HOA does not stand for what I thought it stood for.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's HOA. It stands for High on Aroma.
Nice.
So about 4 bourbons deep, and I came up with that name. So that's how that came about.
Great ideas start with bourbon, right?
Yeah, absolutely they do. And good coffee.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got some updates on our Dead Pair tournament coming up at Vero Beach this December, don't we, Jason?
Yes, we do. So we are definitely official. $50 back to class on the main and the prelim.
That's some good money.
We are working right now on some sponsors for both FeedTask and 5Stand. Of course, anybody that wants to get in on this, if you own a company and you want to sponsor the FeedTask or the 5Stand, you're welcome to. It's not just limited to our sponsors. Of course, our sponsors are actually stepping up for this tournament. We're working on some stuff right now with both Fiocchi and with Bear Pelt, and I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised. The other sponsors, we're still ironing out a few details, but lots of good stuff coming.
Yeah, and this is one you really don't want to miss. I think it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
I mean, it's Florida in December.
Right.
Who doesn't want to be down there?
If you're from the great Arctic North, why wouldn't you want to go?
Yeah, anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon, you're headed to Florida.
Right. Exactly.
So, hey, listen, I'm really excited to get to Ben. I've got some stuff I want to bring up, some stuff I want to talk about. Sean, I know you've got some questions for him too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm anxious to see how he answers these questions versus some of the stuff we talked about 2 years ago.
Well, let's not wait any longer. Let's get the man on the phone.
Well, let's do it.
Well, get going.
Well, what are you looking at me for?
Well, hurry up. Hurry up, go fast.
Hurry, run, go fast. Be right back.
The Dead Pair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been almost 2 years to date. Mr. Ben Husthwaite, how are you, sir?
No, I'm very well. How are you?
Doing great, Ben. Glad to have you back on the show, man. I've been watching everything you've been doing on Facebook and everything. You're a busy guy these days.
Yeah, no, look, first off, thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be interview, podcast, however you guys want to describe it. So it's a pleasure from my end. But no, look, things are super busy, travel-wise, lesson-wise, and obviously one of the reasons for these phone calls is I'm back competing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely exciting. Ben, if you don't mind, I want to go into something here. So I had someone approach me in December. We had you on in 2021, and I had somebody approach me in December that year, and they were a little, I guess, perturbed because we had you on the show. That same person came up to me again in October last year at the national championship, and he said, Jason, he said, I went back and listened to that episode, and I picked up on something, and I said, what's that? He said, Ben apologized 3 times in that podcast. And I said, yeah. And he said, I guess I was listening, but I wasn't paying attention. He said, I really commend that guy for that. So with that being said, Ben, that your time's been served. The ban's lifted. You're now a married man, and you're now a father.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is there was never any ban in place.
Oh, there was not.
No.
Okay.
There's never been a ban at all.
Okay. All right. Well, then I was misunderstood then. But seriously though, the time has gone by. You are a married man now. You're a father now. I mean, Sean and I can attest for the married and father part. I mean, that changes a man. So, how have things changed for you? I mean, with all that being said.
Yeah, I think we all expect things to be different, but totally underplay the actual magnitude of what it does bring, I think would be the way I would describe it. I knew there'd be changes, but to nowhere near the extreme of what they are. Obviously, last year, Jackson, who's my son, was very, very poorly. Both Sean and I were going through things at the same time, and we exchanged messages. But it sort of puts everything into perspective that breaking clay target isn't that important.
That's well said, Ben. And thank you for reaching out to me and my wife. And again, I reached out to you about your son. I'm just glad that everything's working out well for both of us. So thank you for that.
Exactly. Amen.
So Ben, let's get right into it, man. So you're back in competing. Looks like you've been doing very well. Do you have a new approach that you're taking with your competitions these days? Or are you kind of still doing the same old, same old?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's changed physically. I'm still doing what I do, but, over the last 3 years, rumors have spread, and unfortunately, social media gives a voice to a lot of people who don't deserve it. And a lot's been said, and I've just stayed in the background. I haven't retaliated. I haven't said anything bad about anybody, and I just knew one day the chance will come where my retaliation will be through the gun, almost, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
through the scoreboard.
And the fire's always been there, just somebody's threw gas on it.
I remember the last time you were on, you said that you were motivated by 2 things, and that was your lovers and your haters.
Yeah, exactly. And we just had our first 2 major championships over here. One is the Eurocash, which is just the best event in the European calendar at Charles Bardot's ground. And then we've just had the British Fitash Grand Prix, and I won 1 by 4 and one of them by 7.
Wow.
And I sat back in the car on the way home, and I was like, and I started to read the stupid Facebook comments by, some of my closest fans. And I think, what meant more to me, standing on top of the podium or pissing those people off? and I honestly can't tell you which one it is.
Wow.
It's pretty 50-50.
They were both equally as gratifying, huh?
Yeah, and you sit there and you think, you know what? For a sport where we pay just over $1 a bird and win less than that back, to have that control over people's mindset, it's quite a powerful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that just adds to my confidence almost.
Well, do you, not to go too far off the subject, but did you still compete in rugby as well?
Yeah. I've just had the last hour on a chiropractor table trying to put me back straight.
I figured being a father now, you might want to back off that, but
no, I just can't let that go, dude. I don't know. It's just 3:00 in the morning comes around on a Saturday and I wake up and I think I'm 21. And then 4:00 comes around on a Sunday morning and I feel like I'm 121.
I know the feeling.
Jason and I can relate. That's for sure.
Ben, I've noticed a big difference in you just through your social media posts. Obviously, you're quite a different character than you were 3 years ago, or even 4 years ago. Explain, both through competition and in personal life, these changes that have happened, what it's done to, it's had to affect you from a competition standpoint. Obviously the fire and the drive's still there, right? From the lovers and the haters, but being a father and a husband, what's that done to you, you think?
I think first off, one thing I'd like to clear up, I can happily look my parents in the mirror and say that I've never crossed a line whilst competing. So anything that I've been associated with, people can believe what they want to believe. I know what I've done and what I haven't done. And I think what I almost can look back on and say 95% of the grief that I got was probably self-inflicted.
Okay.
I was probably a little too loud, a little too brash, a little too arrogant at times. And, some of it could have been avoided. And I just think you look in when you say, you know what, it's okay having an opinion. It's okay being the biggest, loudest person in the sport. But there's also a line that probably I crossed a couple of times that I didn't need to. And that's being honest with you guys, as I promised you I would be.
Right. Yeah, right.
And I just think I could have handled a few situations differently, which maybe a situation that I found myself in wouldn't have backfired as much as it did.
That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
If I'm being totally honest with you, I don't hold anybody accountable. I don't hate anybody for what happened. And for anything, and this, you may not believe I'm going to say this, but if I could go back in time and change anything about what happened, I wouldn't change a thing.
Really?
Not one thing.
So no regrets?
No, that's different.
Okay. You just wouldn't change what you did to get there, basically.
What I'm saying is, when the accusations of what happened came out, it was, oh my God, what is this going to do to my career? How am I going to, even if I'm found not guilty of this, people are still going to believe it. And my business just got busier. And I got busier and busier and busier and busier, to the point now where, apart from myself and Anthony, I don't think anybody would touch us for hours teaching. Mm-hmm. And so from that perspective, it's been unbelievably good for business. Now, regrets, that's a different story.
Okay.
Do I wish anything would have happened, and would I change it from a point of view of respect for the sport and respect for my competitors? 1,000%. But I think we can look at it from two ways of a regrets, and also financially. One is a completely different spectrum to the other.
Well, from a competition standpoint, Sean and I are nowhere on your level, but I can tell you that, 4 or 5 years ago, when Jason Rambo was standing in the box and he got mad and he threw some shells, it's no big deal. Nobody cared. Somebody driving by on a golf cart, oh, that guy missed a pair or something, no big deal. Now when I do that, it echoes through the industry in a heartbeat. Jason Rambo's got a bad temper, or whatever.
1,000%.
Yeah, I get it.
But I think it's very easy to sit back and judge people on that throwing of the shells. But what led to the throwing of the shells? Because it certainly wasn't missing the pair.
Right. It was frustration with myself.
Happened.
Right. Yeah.
Well, or it's frustration that builds up over a week of, a problem at work, a problem in financially, a problem in your personal life,
right,
is what you'll find caused those throwing of those shells. It wasn't the pair zero, that's for sure.
right.
But people judge on the outcome; they don't judge on what caused the outcome.
Right. And overall, this is a very
think,
small sport, too. I mean, it's very hard to hide anything from anybody. Jason and I can attest, just being with this podcast. I mean, people know us, people watch us, and no, we're not celebrities by any means in my eyes, but you have to be very careful what you say and do because word travels fast.
And look, one thing about shooters is they never let the truth get in the way of a good story. It's like, oh, Ben missed 5 on station 1. And you get back to the clubhouse and they're like, oh, you missed 5 on station 1. And you're like, well, no, I missed 2. And you just realize that 5 sounds better.
Jeez.
And unfortunately, we live in an exaggerated sport where, if there isn't a story, make one up.
Yeah.
Yeah. True enough. Well, and one last thing on this, Ben, and I'll put this to rest on my end. When me and Jason had you on the show, we'd just gotten into registered target, so we really didn't have the background that everybody that had been shooting for many, many years when the issue with you happened. But I will tell you this: you were, without a doubt, and you still are, one of the most listened to podcasts that we've ever done, and also one of the most controversial guests, because for every person that reached out to us with some kind of negativity or why did you have Ben on the show or blah, 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 there was at least 1 or 2 more of those to match.
No, I'd say 5
or
more.
maybe 5 more that were positive about it. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with maybe the people that were in the sport at the time when all this happened. But let's face it, life goes on. New people get into the sport, and hopefully this will all get buried down the road to where nobody really pays attention. And I think at this point, based on your social media, based on your coaching, based on your traveling and shooting, you seem to have put it well behind you. And I think you've learned from it, lived for it, and you've gotten over it. And everybody else can just go pound sand, right, if they can't deal with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you don't like me and watch what I do, you're still a fan.
Right.
You don't have to like me, but if you pay attention to everything I do, check me out. You're the reason I'm busy.
Yeah.
So, there's a fan is a very loose word, and it's very easy to judge. I think it's very easy to sit outside and judge people on rumors. When the incident happened with me, there was 3 people on my squad. Well, I've heard the story from at least 17 people that were also on my squad.
Oh, geez.
This was the biggest squad in history.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, again, it's a small sport, so everybody seems to know something about it. Jason and I were contacted by several people that say, I'll give you the real story about what happened. And it's like, no, we're not interested in.
Well, for every one of those guys that came up wanted to give us the real story, we had somebody else that wanted to give us the real story that was a polar opposite of that guy's story.
Right. I know. So it's just insane.
And look, this will be a fabled tale that the shooters are telling their kids around a fire over a cigar and whiskey at some point,
Right.
I'm sure at some point in time it'll involve knights, dragons, and Scottish people in kilts. The referee was a dragon and the clay was a fire-breathing something or other, and Ben flew in on a knight's winged horse and shot somebody and killed the wrong person.
Oh, jeez.
It'll just keep getting bigger and bigger, and you know. If it helps if it helps the sport out, I'm all for it.
Well, we'll put it to rest. Like I said, it's just funny because as time's gone on, Jason and I have looked back and reflected on having you on, and it was great that you laid it all out on the table and gave us your point of view. But it's just amazing still to this day, how many people were absolutely just livid that we had you on the show. But I think that there was so many more people that really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
I think you have a lot of fans.
I think you guys took a gamble. I appreciated that the moment you made contact, but it was, I don't believe it was a sink or swim for anybody. Nobody could think any worse of me, and you guys were new, so you were going to get popularity points whether people liked it or not. So it was a win-win for everybody, really, at that time in proceedings.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to good stuff. Let's put that behind us, and I think we've kind of touched up on.
I thought that was the good stuff.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of stuff going on, Ben. Man, it's amazing. I follow you on Facebook, and I see you traveling around the world, and especially you take your wife and your son with you a lot of times, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, my wife's an amazing person. She puts up with a lot of stuff from me. But let me tell you, if I'm getting on an airplane and it's hotter where I'm going than where I'm starting from, there's no way I'm keeping her off that plane.
Gotcha. I mean, and that works okay for you and your shooting. I mean, I know some guys I'd talk to probably would think that if they had their wife and kid along, it would be some kind of a distraction or an issue with concentration. But you seem to be all about it, and maybe it just kind of puts your mind at ease that they're with you and you got them close by.
Yeah, Hattie's very good at leveling me out. I can shoot 50 straight at the first day of a major championship, get back to the house, and within 10 minutes, you've had your moment. Like time to do the dishes. We're not talking shooting all night.
Right. Right.
So, and she's very good at that. She's very good at keeping the family together. She's very good at communication. She lets me explode my ego when I'm feeling down, and she'll let me know when it's happened for too long and you got to come back down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And look, as you guys know, I'd like to say that I speak the truth, whether I like it or not. And if you reference all of my competitors throughout my shooting career, there's a good woman behind all of them. If you look at Corey Cruz and Catherine, they're just an amazing team. Anthony and Jessica, that you can see that they work together in and they travel when they can. And, whether you understand the animosity that lies in that partnership, but, if you look what Kate Digweed does for George Digweed, it's just teamwork that allows that guy to be in the top for the time that he has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, whether I like a competitor, whether I don't like a competitor, I think a happy competitor is a fierce competitor.
That's well said.
Yeah, well, they say behind every great man is an even better woman to help get him there, So.
Yeah, and like I say, you can certainly see patterns, especially in shooting, because I think, sometimes then women can deflect a lot of bad press and, like a sponge, can soak up some of the pressure when needed. They can also be a pain in the ass.
I was waiting on that.
All right. Well, let's move on. There's so much to talk about, Ben. Let's talk about your recent wins at the majors. I mean, obviously, this has got to be, like you said, a feather in your cap. Feels good to win, but also feels good to kind of prove to everybody else or any of the naysayers that you still got it, you're still valid, and you're still a force to be reckoned with, right?
Yeah, it's a great start to the season. I realize I'm going to have to tolerate some things that I've probably not had to tolerate in the past. I get a little bit more attention from people. The British Championship just passed. The world referee for FITAS, Hugh Smith, was on my squad. I don't think that was by accident. But it plays into my hands.
Okay.
Because previously I requested these situations. Look, put me with a head referee, and then when any rumours start, the rumour can be squashed. And, I've just won the British Championship by 7 targets. Hugh Smith was an absolute gentleman to shoot with. He was an asset to the squad. And as per usual, I win by 7. Ben must have cheated. Well, the head referee was on my squad, guys. Do you want to keep batting that argument?
Right.
And, so it's I think it's a good idea. And I think it plays into my hands of fair play.
Well, Ben, I want to talk a little bit about your coaching, and I got a couple questions here, but I'm kind of, if you give me a second, I'll kind of morph them together. Looking at your social media posts that you do when you're coaching all of your students, you teach all styles of shooting. And the first question is, tell us why this approach to coaching is so valuable versus only teaching one certain method. And the second part of that is barrel awareness seems to be a touchy subject amongst coaches here in the States. Some say you should only look at the target. And I know and even in years past, you've like, you will give that 3 foot a lead. Well, if you're only looking at the target, 3 foot from what? You know, I remember you saying that. So tell us a little bit about your coaching and how you teach all these different methods. Cause I see you working with people on every one of those methods every day.
I mean, look, as a course designer, let's talk about course design first, and I think that'll answer quite a lot of your questions. So, if I set a course, I can dictate the method you need to shoot on at least one of those targets.
Okay.
So, if I throw you a simultaneous pair, say for instance, a simultaneous pair for you Americans, and I leave you with the gun way out in front of one of the targets, and you don't know how to control the bird from the front, you're going to find yourself in a hole until you do. Mm-hmm. Vice versa, if that's the only method you've learnt, and I throw you a simultaneous pair where I leave you substantially behind the second target, and you've never worked and controlled a bird from the back, you're going to be in trouble. So if you don't understand the ins and outs of every method and the infrastructure in place that can affect the forward lead working from the back, the front, or the middle, you're not going to fix that in 4 pairs. You know, the first time I need to shoot maintain lead, I don't want it to be for a major championship.
Makes sense.
So if you look at the World English Championships next year at Anthony Mattarisi's ground, you think that guy is going to let you shoot any method you want, or he's going to dictate?
True. Very true.
I know what I'd be doing. So if he leaves me behind a target or leaves me in front of a target, I need to understand how that effect is going to have on my forward lead, gun speed, referencing my kill point versus gun speed. If I can't work from both sides of the clay, you know, you're going to find yourself wanting.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because, you know, Chad just recently was at the US Open and he made mention that like the top 4 or 5 guys are all sustained lead guys. Like that's what they believe. That's their core, they're sustained lead shooters. And the way those targets were out there in Arizona in the wide open desert, those targets lended themselves to that method.
Okay, so let's work backwards. Let's work backwards even further. Who set the targets?
I believe Tim Miles.
Okay, I agree with you. No, I think Tim set the main event. And what method does Tim shoot?
Yeah, you're right. He's a sustained lead shooter.
Okay, so what targets does he set? Targets he likes to hit, targets he can't hit.
Right.
Yep. Point made.
You know, so when you get a course setter that is an all-round competitor like Anthony, he'll look at a target based on its target because he can work off both sides of the target. You know, Anthony's the complete shot. The guy's a phenomenal talent, and he'll look at a target based on its merit, not on how he would shoot it, because he could shoot it in 5 different ways.
Right. Makes perfect sense to me.
You know, I just think if you were a tennis player and you knew your opponent had a great forehand and a terrible backhand, where are you going to put the ball?
Right. Make him hit it from the backhand. Yep, absolutely.
Exactly. And that's, so guess, you know, so you can't be a one-trick pony. I don't know anybody in the world that would go to a world championship with a chance of winning with one method.
That's true.
Well, you know, we had Zach Keenbaum on recently, and he had, you know, we asked him, what was the big difference? I mean, yeah, you were winning shoots, but what caused you to start winning national championship and, you know, all these big major shoots around here? And he said when he added, the one thing that was missing was sustained lead to his game. You know, he was a pull away or come from behind shooter on 99% of everything. But when he started really implementing, so in other words, he had all the tools in his toolbox, right? Then he was able to start pulling off these major wins. So,
yeah, I listened to that podcast, and you know, it's very easy to see where he grew as a shooter. You know, I've watched him in World FITAS shoot-offs and things like that. And you could take 4 different shooters and approach a target in 4 different ways, all with equal success, because their hand speed is more suited to that method. Their whole point, where they like to put their eyes, where they like to put their gun, is more suited to that method. If that makes sense. If you've got a barrel-heavy gun, you might want to start out in front of it. If you've got a little bit of a lighter gun and faster hands, you might be able to get away with starting behind it. So for me to take each individual client and tell them, right, I'm whatever it works out to, I'm 120 kilograms, 6'5" tall. If I take a 5'4" guy that weighs 86 kilograms and tell him, right, we're going to spend the next 2 hours trying to get you to move the gun like me, but I'd expect him to never come back.
Maybe go take up golf or something, right?
Yeah, so I think, people don't come to me. They might, in the beginning, they might come to me to take a lesson from me, to think, I'd like to shoot like Ben, but they'll fast realize that their quickest way to success is to be the best version of them they can be.
Right.
There's distinct similarities between myself, Zach, Anthony, Richard, George, and then there's things that we do that are complete polar opposites of each other that suits our body types as well. And I think that's the key to being a good coach, is making that guy the best he can be and not trying to morph him into yourself.
Right.
And also, I would say that being a good coach, is a person of your experience, is you're probably able to break a new shooter down that does come to you for lessons. You're probably able to analyze them very quickly, aren't you? You're probably easy to pick up on what they're doing and what you need to work on, versus like some other coaches that may not have the level of your experience.
Yeah, and I mean, today I've gave a lesson to a gentleman that's in the Great Britain team. He was pointed towards me by another client, and I've just literally messaged that client tonight and said, any feedback from the gentleman that's coming to the European Championships with us in a team? And his reply was, "Hi, Ben, very happy with the lesson. He's had 24 coaches in 15 years. He learned more about how he shoots and what he needs to work on going forward in one lesson than with all of the rest combined."
Wow. Well, you made a comment earlier about a person being the best version of themselves. Sometimes a new shooter doesn't know what that version is.
No, and I mean, I said to this gentleman today, I said, I'm going to be totally honest with you on how I feel about your performance. I said, if I stand behind you and look at you from the very back of your skeet vest, from your shoulders, you look amazing. I said, but if I was to stand in front of you and watch you shoot, it's a complete car crash. But unless you're looking for those intricate 1% details that'll take you to the top, you can't see them from behind, which is where 99% of coaching spent their whole 2-hour lesson is stood directly behind the student, which tells you how he moves and where he misses. It doesn't give you the intricate details of reaction times, eye placement. Is the eye placement over the gun, beside the gun, back at the machine? How does he rotate from the front? What's the weight ratio between front and back foot? There's so much you can't see from the back.
Agreed. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Ben, on a side tangent, because you do travel all over the country, or actually over the world, in your opinion, do you feel that clay shooting is growing? Or do you feel it's stagnant, or do you feel it's in decline?
No, I would say it's growing in every country but England.
Okay.
I'll teach in 17 countries this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And, one of my proudest teams at the moment that are seeing huge results is the team from Kuwait. They've all just returned from Hungary with 4 people finishing in the top 10.
That's incredible.
And the sport's just exploding. They're so passionate about it. I hold classroom sessions in the evening, and we're getting 30 people attend, lectures on the sport.
Do you think, I was just going to ask, do you think that there's a reason for the growth and not the growth in Great Britain?
I think one of the key components is financial. There's a lot of affluent people over there that are willing to spend money on learning the sport. We're in a bit of a cash crisis of living over here in the UK. Everything's rising exponentially, and the first thing to cut back on is your hobby.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've reached the bottom of that yet. The hardcore shooters will always be out there shooting, but I think until things level out here financially, we're trying to push water uphill.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
If you look back at those times in England, when I first started shooting clays in like 1980, it was £100 high gun, £100 high overall. It's £100 high overall now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much incentive to keep spending that kind of money, right?
No, look, and where we realize or we don't realize is that shooting is becoming a corporate entertainment sport. You got to please the masses, because 94% of entries are leaving home with nothing. 99.9% of entries are going home with less than they arrived with. So if they're not enjoying it, they're not coming. It's corporate entertainment now. It's no better than wrestling.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
If you don't enjoy it, you don't go.
Right.
So I think the targets are starting to get a little easier over here, which is making people less competitive on the world stage, because if you look at a shooting ground over here that's got easy targets, they have a lot of entries. If you look at a course over here that's might be a much better tournament, but with harder targets, they're getting less entries than the one where they can go and shoot a PB every week.
Wow. Ben, to circle back to your coaching, I want to talk about your subscription service for a minute, and how is that structured?
Something I've always wanted to do, something I've always wanted to, I think it's a good way of helping out worldwide, and also maybe to what we've just said to people that think, you know what, I can't afford to take 2-hour lesson a month. So I structured my subscription page with 2 clients of mine, one who's probably the best videographer in shooting, and one of them who's just a computer wizard by the name of Simon Lockyer and Jonathan McGee. The only way we could financially come to terms with it is that I cover the costs of the coaching, Jonathan covers the costs of the videography, and Simon covers the costs of the hosting and the uploading. Because otherwise it would just cost an absolute fortune and wouldn't be financially viable you might as well come for a lesson.
Right.
So we structured it at, let's go in as low as we possibly can on a price point and attract as many as we possibly can, low cost, high volume. So we try and upload between 15 and 25 minutes of videos per month, professionally filmed and edited, and we charge $8 per month for that service.
Wow, that's very inexpensive.
Very reasonable.
Yeah. Well, we priced it at half a cup of coffee every week.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
can't get more fair than that.
Right.
Man, seriously.
No,
exactly.
And that's how we do it. This season we're going to add group chat rooms. So once a month we're going to be going into a group chat like a Teams or a Zoom meeting, and you will have access to me for an hour to ask as many questions as you want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For the same price point.
Yeah. Well, Ben, we also see you teaching a lot of youth shooters over there, and it seems to you that you have a passion for doing that. Is the youth base over there in Europe and Great Britain growing as well?
No, we got a problem over here.
Really?
Yeah. When I take a look at the nationals and I take a look at the US Open just gone past, and I see the amount of juniors you guys have got entered, and not only what you've got entered, the scores that these kids are putting in. We're about 11 hours and 25 years behind you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think our SCTP, which is a Scholastic Clay Target program over here, Last year at the SCTP Nationals, there was like 36 or 3,700 kids there.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I speak to Corey Cruz. I was swapping messages back with Corey earlier, and he talks to me about that shoot he did. He helps out in San Antonio, and you're like, unbelievable.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, he does that every year. Yeah.
Yeah, their turnouts are phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. But, hey, that's what's going to create the next batch of champions.
Yeah, if you guys aren't growing, it's just going to be hard to compete.
Now, is that strictly in Great Britain you're talking about, or is that all of Europe overall?
No, I think it's just strictly here. You go to France, you've got a lot of great juniors putting in numbers. Don't get me wrong, we've got one or two over here still, but one or two is not going to compete with 3,600.
Right. Yeah, that's makes it tough.
It's almost like the Australian. I actually said this earlier on when we started talking about teams earlier on, and I said, the team now from England competing with the Americans is a bit like the saying that they have between the kangaroos of Australia and the people of Uruguay.
Gee.
If all of the kangaroos in Australia invaded Uruguay, each Uruguayan person would have to fight 14 kangaroos.
That's a unique way to look at it.
Yeah.
and I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening. For every one good shot we've got over here now that's capable of competing on the world stage, you guys have got 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's hard to compete with.
Yeah, well, you can only put 4 in a team. So, when it gets 4 on 4, we can probably hold our own with our best and the best. We're still going to have world champions out of this country, but the chances of all of yours having an off day is slim.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, okay, let me change gears on you, Ben. So I was looking through your Facebook stuff and on your social media. You've got this new tool out called, is it an Irail? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, it's been out. It's been out for quite a while now. I think it was 2018, maybe 17.
Where have you been hiding, Sean?
I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I was just curious. I was like, can you just tell me what that thing is and what it does and who it's for? I was just curious is all.
It was actually for my father. My father's got diabetes, and his eye dominance started to flicker around on him. And I was like, look, if we make a blinder for the left-hand side, it will alleviate your left eye seeing the bead. So I made it out of a heated up hacksaw blade and folded it over because I've always been good with metal and engineering works. And then when he went to fit us, we noticed that it didn't work anymore because his left eye could see over it at the beginning. So I then started to incorporate like a hood shape design. I'm not a fan of tube sights, like I'm not going to name them obviously, but like where you have to look into the light to get it to work. So we didn't want to create a full circle, so we just put like a hood on it, and it worked perfectly for my father. He shot substantially better. And then about a year later, a client came for a lesson and he had the same problem. And I said, look, I know how to fix you, but I haven't got one. And he said, can you draw? I was like, yeah. He said, draw it for me. So I drew it. He said, give me a few days. And he came back. It turns out this guy was a head designer for Formula One style setup.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
And he made me one using all their equipment in a 3D printed design. And about 10 designs later, we thought, you know what, we've got this perfect. And we said, look, let's go into partnership together. I promote them, you make them. And we said we'd make 300, and if we could get rid of them, we'd be happy. And we've just, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll sell product number 10,000.
Holy cow!
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And this is all based on people that have eye dominance issues. This tool will help. Them.
Yeah, and we've just signed up with a US importer. So you can get them through a US importer. I think I don't even know what it is, if I'm honest. So yeah, we're just very, very lucky. We've got importers around the world. They're promoted by Olympic champions and world champions, and they've been very, very useful to some people. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I just was curious about that.
That's incredible. Hey, Ben, aside from your subscription service, how can you help someone living here in the U.S.? I mean, do you do video lessons?
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, that was something we had to diversify into. They're not as good as a lesson, but they can certainly help. But
Sure.
I work with a lot. At the moment, I'm working with a lot of Olympic style shooters, skeet shooters, trap shooters, helping them with their mental game.
Okay.
Mentally strengthening them up. And, I had a guy got a silver medal at the World Cup event the other month in Morocco, shooting a 1-2-3 out of 1-2-4. Now, I also work with these guys when I'm over there, but I think you can certainly, you guys do these podcasts because your generosity to the sport outweighs your selfishness. So you're trying to share knowledge.
Right.
And that's what you do in an online lesson. You just try and share knowledge.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Do you do currently a lot of video lessons across seas like that?
Ridiculous amount.
Really?
But ridiculous amount compared to other people. I'd say it's 8-9 hours a week at least.
Wow.
Where the hell do you find the time, Ben? I mean, seriously.
It's true. He's always on a plane.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that Hattie's done for me is like, I'm a workaholic. I work 7 days a week, and since Jackson was poorly, and you realize no matter how much money I earned, I couldn't fix him. And you sat in that hospital and I watched Hattie just like live by that baby's side for 14 days. She didn't move. And it was like, you know what, we're very, very lucky with who Jackson's godfather is, and nothing could help him. And I think, well, if I work 7 days a week to provide a good life for him, but I never see him, what's the point?
Right. Absolutely.
So
right.
she's doing her utmost to get me to work less. So I think also if I do those video calls, I do them from home. So it sort of puts me in the home environment around the family. So it's sort of a halfway to the first compromise.
Right. No, I can level with you there. I traveled for construction, and I was watching my daughter grow up through FaceTime, and I said, "This is enough." So
yeah, and look, and like I say, that's where she is very good. She's good at that.
Gotcha. All right, $1 million question, Ben. Are we ever going to see you competing back in the U.S. anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. The World FITAS is there next year. The World English is there next year. If you wanted to book me for a lesson right now, I'm booking the end of September.
For the U.S.?
For England.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, are you coming over here?
So me traveling this year is going to, normally if you wanted a lesson, there's a 2-3 week turnaround. Now we're looking at 4 to 5 months planning ahead.
Wow, that's incredible.
So I'm fully booked till September as we speak right now. So this year will be spent competing over here, building up that almost competition environment, being out of the loop. And, I don't know if you saw my Facebook post the other day. I tried to put an honest appraisal on of this year. Was probably the most nervous I've ever been about competing.
Coming back from a break like that, you mean?
Not coming back from a break, because the break didn't bother me. But the pressure of, can I still do it? Can I still compete with the best? Am I still the formidable shot that I once was? And I'm just going to my Facebook now because I couldn't have put anything more honest on there about what I put. And I just put, it's not about posting about the wins and the bad. So, it's sometimes also about what pressure I face. Would Hattie see me win a major? Would Jackson ever see me win another major? If I'm not good enough to compete with these best anymore, what happens to my lessons?
Right.
Because, I couldn't be one of those people that says they're the best coach in the world and shoots 70 out of 100.
Right.
That would drive me prolifically insane. So I tried to put an honest appraisal of how it was, and I probably the most nervous I've been walking into a shooting season. So I think I'm just slowly this year build myself up, and I've just won those two major championships over here, and I'm still nowhere near the best I can be. I do know that.
Well, if it's any consolation, the Jack Links bumped their purse up next year to $300,000. If that interests you at all, I'd love to see you over here.
I'm looking forward to getting back to some form of normality where, it's just I'm going to go and shoot that shoot, and there's no, well, will he let me shoot it? Will they let me shoot it? Type thing.
Okay,
Right.
Gotcha. Well, any other major goals or anything new that you're looking to accomplish? I mean, obviously you've accomplished a lot in your career already, but is there anything that's pushing you along other than just kind of proving to the naysayers that you still got it?
I don't, and this is, I don't know if it's me proving to them that I've still got it, or me proving to them that they never had
it. Well said. Well said.
And the people may take that wrong, and they may think that's arrogant, but it's not. It's like, if you want to be the best, you've got to take out the best. And if you're going to call I would never, ever want to win a title with the best not there.
Right.
I just, it dilutes it. So for me, I'm old, but I'm young. I've been in the sport a long, long time, but I feel like I've got a long time left. So, I think for me personally, there is lots to prove. Lots more personal challenges. I want to break records, high scoring records, and more so than with my students. I want when I decide that it is time to retire, that top tier placement, I'd love to be replaced by somebody I teach.
That would be awesome.
When before I tell you the next thing, because this is quite important, when will this be aired?
The 25th.
25th.
Is that correct?
This month.
Yeah, 25th. Yeah.
What day do we on? Yeah, so I can tell you. So we're also expecting child number 2.
Oh, congratulations,
man. That's awesome.
But that's we're not going to be announcing that till next week, so that's why I had to be careful of when that airs. So, then the goal will be to take that child on a podium.
That is so awesome.
Build your legacy.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll never force Jackson to follow my footsteps, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I hope he doesn't. I really do. If he says to me, "Daddy, I don't want to shoot," I'll be like, "You are the best." Please. No, and I really, really, really mean that.
Well, as Sean and I both being fathers, we understand that you always want better for your child than what you did.
What I've dedicated to this sport, time financially, time away from family, it's never been worth it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, when someone's got to knock in an 18-yard putt for $3 million, that sort of softens the blow.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
When you've got to hit the last pair to win $5,000, but it's cost you $11,000 to be there.
Yes.
Little different scenario.
Well, it is, and I put a video online the other day when somebody said to me, like, Ben, when you shot the shoot off for the first major championship in the Eurocash, I don't know if you guys know how that worked. It's the very best of Europe all in one place, and the top 5 people go into a super final. And your score carries through, and then there's another 25 targets, super extreme fit ass. And people said to me, "You look so relaxed." And I said to them, because I always use the phrase in those scenarios of, I call it Monday. And people say, "What do you mean by Monday?" I said, "Well, every final, every large shoot in the world ends on Sunday. That's when you've got to give yourself a chance coming down the straight to put yourself in a position to win. If you're not in a position on Sunday afternoon, you're not in a position, you're out. So it's he who calms himself the most on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, that's going to win that event. So I keep myself calm by just reminding myself of the phrase I call Monday. Because if what's going to happen Sunday afternoon is not going to affect my Monday, it doesn't matter.
That makes sense.
So if I go into that super final and I win the huge prize fund of €6,000, I'm still going to work Monday.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how on earth can I let that overtake my quiet mind when it's not going to affect my Monday? Now, one of my students had a counter argument to that. He says, I understand that, Ben. But when I watch Tiger Woods step over a putt for $2 million, he looks as calm as you. I said, that's because he's got $1 billion in the bank already. It's that $2 million is not going to affect his Monday either.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And I think that's some good advice for students out there and shooters worldwide. If the outcome is not life-changing, stay calm.
That's well said. Good advice. Good advice.
Well, when you get back here to the States, it sounds like now you owe Sean and I 2 cigars. So
more than welcome.
That'll be great to catch up with you finally. It'd be nice to see you back here in the States. So
yeah, look, I'm looking forward. I've there's lots in the pipeline moving forward. There's going to be some big shoots coming up over in the desert that we'd love to have you guys over to. That'll be announced soon. And look, before this interview ends, I think everybody thanks you guys for what you do for the sport, as I did. But I think you guys take it that one step further than other people. You're not afraid to cross lines. You'll interview him and you'll interview him. He won't like you interviewing him and he won't like you interviewing him. But what you're saying is we're going to interview the people that are going to get people to listen and maybe people that can learn from. And I think you should be commended on your attitude towards the sport, not just keeping people happy and also, staying true to your core beliefs. I think you should be commended on that.
Well, thank you.
That means a lot, Ben. Sincerely, we appreciate that. And a credit to what you just said. I know of one of the people that was a hater, let's just put it that way, wrapped up his story with the lessons that he watched from you. So it's like, okay, you can't stand to hear from the guy, you can't stand the guy, but you credit some of your shooting to what he taught you. So, and it's, everybody wants somebody they love to hate in a sport, period.
Yeah, look, one thing I learned, like I said before, I learned super, super fast. 10% of shooters think I cheated, right? 10% of shooters know I didn't. And 80% don't care as long as they get a free video on YouTube tomorrow.
Okay, real quick, relatable, funny story. My mom and dad were huge NASCAR fans. And I went to a race with them in Michigan, and my dad was a big Jeff Gordon guy. And everybody that watches NASCAR is screaming right now. And Dad nudged me, and he pointed to the couple in front of us. Now, this couple and their 2 kids had Jeff Gordon hats, Jeff Gordon shirts, Jeff Gordon, little lunch boxes full of their drinks and all that stuff. The Jeff Gordon bleacher creature that you sit on. Mom had a Jeff Gordon blanket around her lap. And when Jeff Gordon came out in front of everybody, because one driver at a time comes out and they announce him and everybody cheers and all that, this family and their 2 young children stood up and screamed obscenities and let him know that he was number 1 with their middle finger. And I looked at my dad and I went, what did I just witness? And he started laughing. He goes, they love to hate me. I'm like, they've got all of his paraphernalia on and they're screaming at him. Can somebody explain this? And then we come into shooting, and I got to know Ben Husthwaite, so it all makes sense now.
I mean, the only passing comment that I would say to people, right? You don't have to hate me, you don't have to like me, but do it for the right reason.
Yeah.
If you have a sincere reason where I have personally offended you or upset you, but don't hate me because somebody else told you to.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I have no problem either way, as long as the reason you love me or the reason you hate me is genuine.
Yeah.
I was shooting Station 13 at so-and-so sporting clays the other day, and they told me, Ben Husthwaite, I just can't stand the guy. What? Because they might have told you the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're going to hate me for the right reason.
But that's this sport in general. And Jason and I have learned a lot since we started the podcast. I mean, obviously, by starting the podcast, we got in depth, got to know a lot of people that as just regular weekend warrior shooters, we never would have been able to. I mean, including yourself. And, the more you dive into this, you realize that the sport can be kind of cliquey. You realize that there's people that you might have once looked up to, and then now you hold a different opinion, and vice versa, people that you didn't really care for, and now they've proven themselves to be somebody you can admire. So hopefully everybody...
One thing I do want to say on that, I'm very quick to criticize people, but I also want to give people credit where they're due. When Jackson was poorly, one thing I will say is I felt the love of the entire sport, whether they like me or not. And I think people deserve to be credited for that. People that hate me even sent messages of goodwill and kindness. So, the sport can be bad, but the sport's got a lot of good.
Yeah,
that's right.
It does. And you're right.
It's very easy to judge people on bad things they say, but a lot of people suck. One of the referees said to me the other day, he says, Ben, you may cause some shit and not everybody likes you. He said, but I guarantee you every shooter worldwide was pulling for you and your boy. So,
absolutely.
And I think that, I think that, Sean, you probably got the same thing there with your wife. So
yes,
yeah,
it's very easy to criticize, but I think in those situations, people can actually realize that hate is wasted. And, if people reached out even more to people that they, for some reason or other, they didn't like, they might find out that, that guy's actually all right. And that certainly happened to me. People that I think, that guy's a complete. And then you spoke to me like, where did I actually form that opinion from?
Right.
Why did I think he was one of those? Because I've just spent 10 minutes on his squad by accident. The guy's actually all right. So why have I formed that opinion? Based off somebody else's experience. Now, I could say to you, oh my God, I watched a movie the other night. It's the greatest movie I've ever seen. What did you think to it? And you said, oh my God, but it's shit.
Right?
What? Now I've got to not like it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I suppose it did. No, I liked it. I liked it and you didn't. And that's absolutely fine. Let's leave it at that. And I think that's a key component of loving and hating in this sport. Make sure it's for the right reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Form your own genuine opinions. So.
Yeah, and look, if you've never met me, you can't have one.
That's right.
Very true. Very true.
And look, if you've got an opinion on me and you haven't got my phone number to tell me your opinion, it's not relevant anyway.
Right? Well, I thought the world of it because I released that video last year from the Nationals where everybody was, saying, hey, Sean, we wish you were here. And I think you must have saw it because you immediately messaged me and what the hell's going on? What's wrong with Steph? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had no idea. We're a long way away.
Right. And, and I think that's when he reached out to you, Sean, was right around Christmas time.
Yep.
And, that says a lot. I mean, you genuinely cared about what was going on.
Yeah.
And,
Christmas Day, I made 16 phone calls worldwide.
Wow.
To people that have reached out to me and said, look, 5 minutes on the phone with this person might change their Christmas. And I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's good on you, Ben. I mean, again, I think both you and I kind of went through a similar situation and you're right. It is really humbling, and it's also very nice to know that people can send you a nice message and really care about what's real in life. And again, this is just a sport. We're just doing it for fun. It's not
Exactly.
life or death.
No, and I think I'm a different person to I was 3 years ago, and I'm more than happy to move on from even people that have publicly slated me, because if I'm not the same 3 years ago, I very much doubt you are.
Yeah.
So for me, let's just let it go, move on, let's break some clay pigeons, and hopefully I'll beat you.
There you go. There you go.
I like it. Well, Ben, any closing thoughts, buddy, before we let you go? I mean, I know it's late over there, and you got to get to that little boy and that wife of yours.
No, I just think, it's a worldwide sport that you guys seem to be getting a real good hankering on. I watched a video lesson with Zach Keenbond the other day. I watched a video of Anthony Matarese with his new teaching techniques, and I think, you've got a lot of guys over there that not just a credit to the sport, but have got some serious intellectual insights into this sport, and it's showing through the junior ranks over there that you guys are, right up there. We'll try our best to keep our guys strong and challenge you, and let's just keep moving forward and keep the sport going forward. And I just think you've got guys over there that are credit to the flag over there, and we're going to try and match you this year.
That's awesome.
Well said.
As long as we can keep politics out of things over here, we're in a good spot with the sport, really. But politics can ruin it. So,
and I think Wendell's comeback this year says you keep yourself fit and healthy. There's no age limit to this sport to where you can go. So stay healthy and look after yourself, and your title's around the corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Well, Ben, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. We really do.
Man, anytime. You know that. That it's a pleasure to speak to you guys. Something I've been looking forward to doing again, and looking forward to you guys' phone blowing up.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you on again, Ben. Great to talk to you, and we can't wait to see you once you come stateside.
All right, guys. Well, you two stay safe. Look after the family, and we'll speak soon.
All right. Take care.
All right, man.
Bye-bye. Well, Jason, what do you think, man? I think Ben was a little more low-key, maybe is the word? Laid back. Yeah. I mean, did you kind of pick up on that?
I did, and this was kind of my point going in, is how much of a changed man he is. Yeah. Good on him. I think it's awesome. Obviously, he still knows how to swing a shotgun. He just won 2 major championships over in Europe. You know?
But I mean, let's go back. I mean, we touched on the fact that since the last time he was on the show, he got married. He's had a boy. He's gone through a little bit of a medical emergency with his boy. Right. And that has an effect on you.
And now they have another child on the way.
Yeah, another child on the way. So that's interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what that child is.
If he has a little girl,
I'd just get ready to say, if he's got a girl, he's in trouble.
Yes. Because much like me, he'll understand what everybody else's father went through. Okay, I need to quit talking right now. Okay, moving on from that.
Moving on.
Good interview from Ben. I think it's awesome that he's back out shooting again and being competitive. Look forward to seeing him next year for the Worlds here in the United States.
That'll be cool, man.
That'd be cool.
That'd be very cool.
Hey, look, if you hate the guy, give him a chance. Listen to this interview. If you love the guy, then you're going to love the interview.
Well, love him or hate him, he's relevant. I mean, he's a hell of a coach. He's a hell of a shooter. And just go look at his social media, dude. He's always out there coaching all over the world. I mean, most of the coaches here in the United States don't leave the United States to go coach. Right. They really don't. I mean,
there's a lot of coaches that don't leave their home club
or state, so I get that, but I'm just saying the man travels all over, so he sees all kinds of different people.
Right.
Europe, goes Saudi Arabia and Dubai and places like that, everywhere. I mean, so
Ireland.
He's really seeing what the world has to offer as far as shooters go, and I'm sure he's learned a lot by doing that.
Right.
So good, hats off to him, man, because I mean, again, I'm a big fan of Ben, and I think he's a really good guy. I understand the backstory and all that stuff, and some of you guys might have a bad place or a bad taste in your mouth about that. But look, it's in the past. It's done. It's over. Yeah. Let's get on with it. Move on.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got a little surprise coming from everybody next week. There's going to be some in-studio guests.
Yes.
Very excited about that.
We hope all that works out.
Yeah, me too. But we'll see. I mean, look, dude, 4 years ago, if you'd have told me who's coming in studio, I'd been like, you liar.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, but anyway, thank you very much to Elite Shotguns. Sean Alley's loving his new Kolar.
I certainly am.
I just placed another order with Fiocchi. Oh boy, shells have gone up, you know what?
Yes, they have.
But I am looking forward to that. I am actually, Mr. Alley, jumping on your bandwagon. I'm going to try some ounce and eighth white rhinos.
Okay. All right.
But I think I'm going to, you know how I carry 7.5s and 8s? And I always save my 7.5s for rabbits, right?
Right.
Ragboos
Right.
or rabbits, or if it's an on-edge crosser or something.
Yep.
I'm gonna try some white rhinos.
I just got a little bit because I figured any of the big FETAS targets. Well, no, you can't shoot them FETAS. I'm saying any of your big targets, like at say the Jack Links or the U.S. Open or what something like that. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have some extra pellets in that shot. And
well, the way you and I shoot, the more lead we can throw in the air,
right?
Probably the better.
Yeah, we shoot.
But I'm going to stick to I'm diehard on my little rhinos. I love them.
Oh yeah, fantastic. I'm just playing around, just trying to see if that ounce and eighth really does make a difference.
And little tidbit for everybody. I also ordered some 20 gauge.
Oh, you did.
Yes, I did.
You gonna do some sub gauge stuff?
I am.
Okay. Did you get some tubes?
I got me some Kolar tubes coming.
Oh boy.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
So, big huge thanks to Bear Pelt, who has offered a little extra something for our winners down at the Dead Pair Podcast tournament. We will announce that officially once we get few little details ironed out.
Yeah.
They got a little extra something for all the class winners. And I think it's going to be really cool.
I think if you guys can consider it, I would try to come down to this shoot. I think it's going to be really freaking cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm there. So.
I'm not saying that. That's not my point. I think it's going to be a fun shoot, and I think it's going to be a blast. I think Brian and everybody down there at Vero Beach is going to throw a heck of a shindig.
For sure. Atlas Traps, RE Ranger. Odo Pro Technologies. Big shout out to those girls too, by the way. I got some messages over the weekend. Very, very exciting. Some stuff coming up with them. Rhino Chokes. We just did the F-16 podcast with Rhino Chokes and Corey Cruz. Mm-hmm. You know what? Listen, we're sponsored by Elite. We're both sponsored by Kolar. Absolutely love our guns. But you know what? That is an entry-level gun. That F-16, I don't think you can go wrong with that gun.
No, not at all.
I mean, I talked to Chad. He shot it out at the U.S. Open, and he said he just absolutely loved it. Now, he's an F3 guy, Blazer.
Right.
But he said that F-16 Pro that Corey developed is absolutely, like, amazing shotgun.
Well, and it seems like they're selling them as quick as they can make them.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, Vero Beach Clay Shooting, home of the Dead Pair Podcast Tournament this December. White Flyer Targets. Thank you very much to White Flyer. And, of course, Don Grant. We got some stuff coming with her.
Yep.
Big news there, but I keep teasing people. I love teasing people.
Yeah, I know you do.
And, of course, Score Chaser. Thanks to Miss Casey Chase. So, Sean Alley, am I forgetting anything?
No, I think we've covered a lot here. Hopefully people enjoyed this podcast and we'll give it the respect that it's due. And I think it goes back to our message all the time. Get people out there, get a gun in their hand, go shooting, go bust some birds. Have fun with it, man. It ain't life and death. Right. Go out there and experience this. This is what it's all about. Yeah,
and hey, one thing we forgot to mention is questions for the coaches. Mm-hmm. We have got, who's coming up next, Sean? I think it's Tracy Wright.
Yeah.
We need to no, it's either Tracy or John Woolley. I can't remember now, but, heck, both of them. Just send your questions to us. We'll get them.
Either one's as good as the other. They're both great coaches.
Absolutely, for sure. What do we tell everybody every week, Mr. Alley?
Again, get a gun in your hand. Get out there. Go bust some clays. Get somebody to bring along to introduce the sport to. Show them how much fun it is. Get them signed up for a registered tournament. Get your buddies signed up. Go to a charity tournament. Yes. Just get out there and have fun, break some birds. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And, I've had about enough of your ugly mug for one evening. So until next week,
we'll see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair. The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Elite Shotguns and Vero Beach Clay Shooting and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Special thanks to the following sponsors: Bear Pelt, Rhino, Otopro, Dawn Grant, Atlas Trap Company, RE Ranger, and White Flyer Targets.